Good evening, everyone. It's Tuesday. It is bedtime story time. All right, so this ran earlier on Dave Ramsey. It's called I Want You to Have a Little Bit of Anxiety. It ran about 7 hours ago this Tuesday. If you are new here, I would like to welcome you to Bedtime Story. Bring your cup of tea or whatever it is you enjoy. If you've been here before, it's always good to see a familiar face and friend, all right? Let's go ahead. Let's take this all the way on down. Whee! Hope everybody had a beautiful day. All right, let's go ahead, bring this up. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's go ahead and have some fun.
Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today. Dakota is in Dallas. Hi, Dakota. Welcome to the
Hello,
Ramsey
Dakota.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for taking my call. How are you?
Better than we deserve. What's up in your world?
Hey, so I am 27 years old. I am making around $76,000 a year between my full-time job and a part-time job that I picked up.
Cool.
I am fortunate to not have any credit card debt, which is great, and I'm very thankful for that. But I am sitting around $45,000 in debt between my student loans and a car loan. My student loans are around $31,000 across 5 loans with my highest interest rate at 6.6%, and then my car I have about $14,000 left at a 3.79% interest rate. So,
Out of even with her debt, I would have liked to have had been this financially aware and organized, even with her debt. And the fact that she's willing to do a part-time job along with a full-time gig. Honestly, I can tell you, I think she'll be able to get out of this if she continues to play her cards right. She doesn't get into any more debt.
I'm sitting around $6,600 in my savings account, and I followed along with the show, and hearing, the goal of having $1,000 in savings is great. However, having that little amount also gives me a lot of anxiety. Just thinking of, random things that could come up here and there, car breaks down, extra expenses, things like that. So
now, if you've watched any earlier episodes, I have discussed in earlier episodes about how I actually had a savings account. Okay, I broke every rule to become debt-free. I mean, every rule. If I could break it to become debt-free, I broke it. Even though I watched Dave Ramsey, I've known and obviously have watched Dave Ramsey for years, okay? But I got rid of my savings account when I decided to pursue becoming debt-free. And I did what Dave Ramsey would say absolutely not to do. I went ahead and relied on my credit card in case I had an emergency. Now, to be able to do something like that, you really, really have to know what you're doing, why you're doing it. So what is the purpose? What is the end goal? And sometimes it's not always about how we get there. It's the fact that we got there. Okay. Her $6,000 savings account in my world, that's not really a savings account. One of the things that caused me to get rid, I had a $3,000 savings account when I lived in an apartment. But when I got this condo that you see behind me, and I decided I wanted to become debt free, I got rid of the $3,000 savings account, literally put it towards the mortgage, knocked out the entire first year's interest in one payment, because I was told by the title company, and rightfully so, they were correct. The lady, said to me, she goes, you want to get rid of that first 50% of your mortgage as fast as you can, because of course it's an amortized loan, so all the interest is up front. So and I'm just giving you my aspect, something for you to, chew a straw on and think about, okay? For me, holding a savings account, $3,000, which for me was a nice tidy sum, didn't really seem like a savings account because I owed debt. Now, of course, many of us carry debt, whether it's a mortgage, a car, or whatnot, and we do need to have emergency savings accounts for things. But I wasn't thinking in terms of long-term for savings. I was thinking in terms of, I hope this makes sense here. I was thinking in terms of, I want to get this condo paid off. I had a $45,000 mortgage. Let's just say 50 with, interest and all that. Okay, we'll just round it off to 50. I had a $50,000 mortgage. I wanted it gone as fast as possible. I wanted to pay as little as interest as possible. So I knew specifically why I was seizing my savings account. So I stopped my savings account for 2.5 years. Well, I literally put every dime I had. That included the student loan because we were on, this was during the the pandemic, okay? And they had halted student loans. This included stimulus money. I put everything towards this condo. Now, that to me was getting rid of a savings account for a very short-term specific purpose, okay? Otherwise, you should have a savings account, okay? You should have a savings account even though you have other debt. You should have a savings account. But in my case, in my particular situation, for a very short, specific purpose, if this were a musical note, it would be like for a staccato. One short, quick purpose, I got rid of the savings account, and then I've rebuilt it. Okay? So she really doesn't have, I mean, yeah, she has debt, okay? But with the money she's making, the thing I would tell her, and I know we're only seconds, a minute into this video, but as long as she doesn't get herself into any more debt, she sounds like she has a good head on her shoulders. I would have liked to have had this type of financial awareness, even with the debt she has. I would have loved to have had this type of financial awareness in my 20s. I was far from it.
I guess my question is, with my lowest student loan being around $3,000, technically I do have a savings account to just start, knocking that out right away while still having a little over $3,000 left in the account. So I guess the question is, should I plan to start drawing from that savings account to start knocking those, student loans out and the car out, paying extra there?
See, I guess my answer to her, okay, it really depends. I want to put in my thoughts before Dave puts in his. It really depends upon your comfort level of, it depends upon what access to emergency money do you have if you need it. How comfortable are you? How good are you at being disciplined? She appears to be very disciplined. Okay. From what I can tell, she appears to be very disciplined. But it really has to depend upon you as the individual. I think money is one of those areas. It really is true. Sometimes you'll have someone ask you a question, but they can't answer it for you. And the reason they can't answer it for you is because it really depends on you. It's what do you want? What is best for you? And it may be that either direction, the good news is either direction isn't necessarily going to be good or bad. Okay, it's not like, well, you must turn left, and if you don't turn left and you go in any other direction, it's just going to be horrible. There are some questions with money, and regarding her savings account, it may be one of those that it's really not good or bad. Me, I'm kind of a, hit it hard and go home. If I've got $6,000 sitting in a savings account, I think she said she had around $17,000 for a car note. If I can put that $6,000, knock that $17,000 down to $11K and just start booking the $11K, I can be out of car debt, less than a year. Versus having $6,000 just sitting and mingling. Basically, what I figured out is my savings account was going to cost me money. For every month that I held on to that savings account, all right, for every month that I held on to it, that was money that could have gone towards the mortgage, thereby helping me from paying interest. And I'm not kidding. My very first mortgage payment, it was February. I bought the condo in February 2020. My first mortgage payment was like April 2020, and that first mortgage payment, I knocked out 1 year's worth of mortgage.
Or should I leave that savings account alone, look at refinancing? I'm not sure.
How deeply are you willing to cut your lifestyle, and how many hours are you willing to work to where you could do this in 1 year?
Yeah. I think I don't know if I would do a year, okay? Because we still want to breathe in between, but a year and a half, maybe 2 at the absolute most. Now, because you got to remember, Dave's numbers are always a little bit more, what is it? They're oftentimes they don't include the taxes. God love you, Dave, but they oftentimes don't. Or they have you on such a beans and rice diet, John's going to be asking you if you can breathe, okay? And be like, no, I can't because, I feel so stifled, okay? So I like to get out of debt, but with still a little sense of air, a little bit of breathing room. But I don't see why this gal with her intelligence, what it appears to be, couldn't be out of debt. 2 years?
Yeah, so
46, what did you say? 41,000, right? 45,000.
About 45,000.
Out of 76,000. Out of 76,000 means you live on 30. Or you live on a little bit more, but you pay off everything in 1 year.
Yeah, I'm working about 40 to 50 hours for my full-time job, salaried position. And then my part-time job, I was pulling an extra like 15 to 20 hours a week there at a retail gig. For my mental health, having that much time working,
why does it hurt your mental health to work?
Okay, Dave, now. Time, Dave. Time. All right? Now, if you've watched this channel enough, you know what I think about mental health. All right? It's critical. It's critical to your short term, and it's exceptionally critical to your long-term goals. So without going on any rampage about it, okay? Respectfully so. Pause Dave here, okay? Your mental health will have everything to do, in my opinion, as to whether or not you can not only create a goal, but can you sustain going through that goal to see it to the end. Take it from someone who's had an effed up mental health history. All right? Royally effed up mental health history. It is everything. There is a thing as necessary work and life balance. People who have mental health issues must pay attention to it. They must, for their own survival and for the health and well-being of those around them and that they love. I wish at 27 years old, okay, I wish I had even known that I was supposed to pay attention to my mental health. I had no idea. See, just because you know how to make money doesn't mean you know how to take care of your mental health. How many people make a crap load of money but are just drowning mentally, though? They can't take it. They cannot take it. So when Dave says, with, all due respect, no disrespect, what does that have to do with working hard? It has everything to do with it. Now, we're not talking people who don't want to work hard because they're lazy. I just don't want to, That's one thing. But people who are in tune with themselves and know, who are in tune with themselves and with themselves to know that paying attention to what starts to trigger you, paying attention to that point where you go, whoa, this is too much. I'm going to start mentally breaking down. It is everything to achieving a goal. I couldn't achieve crap when I was in my mental health issues. When I had mental health issues, I couldn't achieve anything. Everything that I touched turned to either sand and disappeared, or it turned into jagged rocks and just backfired on me. Your mental health is everything. If you want to set a debt goal, see your way through it to the other end and come out smiling. And I say that from first-hand personal experience.
Just between the responsibilities, it's not that I don't have the mental health or the capacity to work. I don't want to come across like that.
You said for my mental health, that's a bunch of crap.
I'm going to play just that little back part again just because I want to hear it uninterrupted. So just bear with me here. Hold on.
For my mental health, having that much time working,
why does it hurt your mental health to work?
Just between the responsibilities, it's not that I don't have the mental health or the capacity to work. I don't want to come across like that.
You said for my mental health, that's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, it was just to the point where...
No, it's not. Yeah.
I was feeling super overwhelmed with the amount of hours I was putting in. I wasn't
Yes,
taking
because
care
you
of
did
myself.
not have you felt like a rat in a wheel, though you were not getting traction.
Yeah.
If you were seeing this debt drop off at $3,000 to $4,000 a month and you knew you were going to be done a year, you'd be fine working.
Okay, let's pause. Pause. Mental health. Oh, you guys know how tough this is for me, okay? Mental health doesn't have anything to do with profit. It has nothing to do with how much you make, how much you don't make. It has nothing to do with that. For me, it had nothing to do with how much traction I got in paying off debt. Mental health was literally trauma. Had nothing to do with well, if I would just make more money, that would solve my mental health problem and I would see the bills start to drop. Had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with, born in Saigon, Vietnam, and starting life there in an orphanage and the tragedies there. Dave is dismissing. He's trying to combine two things. I'm just giving you my perspective. Okay? I'm going to give you my perspective. Chew on it with a straw as you wish. From my perspective, he is trying to combine square blocks and circle blocks, saying they are similar and that they are related to each other. And if you just work it carefully enough, you can fit one into the other. No, you cannot. They are two totally separate things. In my world, for me to recover after nearly 12, 13 years of sheer, utter mental agony. Okay? Sheer, utter mental breakdown that lasted more than a decade. For me to deal with that, mental health was a total separate issue. It had nothing, zilch to do with what I made, where I worked, who I knew. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with me internally. For me to get better, I had to deal with the mental health first. And only when the mental health could be solved, and making more money wasn't going to solve it, working a part-time job wasn't going to solve it, changing where I worked, the city that I lived in, that stuff wasn't going to solve it. The only thing that could solve it was what was going on in my brain and sorting that out. The fact that this woman is aware, she is so beyond where I was at this same age. Put her debt aside. She already has an awareness at 27 years old that her mental health means something to her. Her mental health means something to her. She's already aware at 27 years old that, she can go out and she can go chase all this money, but what price is she going to pay? I want to make very clear that in my particular case also, your age has nothing to do with your mental health state of mind. We so often look at young people and think young people can just keep working. They can just work like dogs 24 hours. Or we look at someone who's older and we go, well, just do more work. It's not that simple. This is where adults dismiss young people talking about their mental health issues. It's where adults, and Dave Ramsey's, he's I'm sure he's in his 60s. He's got to be, because I'm in my 50s. Okay, he's got to be at least a decade older than I am. All right. This is where older people dismiss so easily young people's awareness of mental health. What do we tell young people? I sure as hell won't tell them that. But what do we often tell them? Well, you just keep working harder. You're concerned about your mental health issues. Why are you concerned about mental health? You're in your 20s. Deal with it. Tighten up those bootstraps. It's not about that. The fact that this woman is aware that she's already recognizing that, look, I can make more money, but there's a limit here. There's a limit to what stress I can take. That is absolutely commendable, because that is an awareness I never had, but I should have had. Instead, I just kept falling further and further and further down that mental rabbit hole till it just became one hell of a nightmare. So Dave is dismissing, in my opinion, way too easily her mental health. He's associating her mental health, and to a certain extent, he's kind of calling her lazy, saying, look, you know what? You're so concerned about your mental health, go make more money. They are not the same. They are not the same. And if somebody breaks down mentally, and they can't hold a job, and we've done some bedtime chit-chats on that, have we not? I think before we became an official bedtime chit-chat story channel, okay? But we've done some stories on that. There was one story, I hope I can find it. Like I said, I've done over 100, I've done around 150 reactions so far. I'll see if I can find it. I will link it at the end. if I can find it. If I can't find it tonight, I promise I will look for it the next day or so, because I have to kind of go through the videos that I've done. But it's a woman who was like $300,000 in debt. She had just literally recovered from the psychiatrist's office, and Dave told her, go out and work some more and get out of debt. And meanwhile, I think she was a single mom, couple of kids, and literally she spends 2 to 3 days at the psychiatrist's office. This is where Dave and I kind of part roads, okay? We respectfully agree to disagree. This is where we part roads. And in that video, I was like, no, she can't just go out and work 60, 70 hours a week, even if it is for short term. People who have struggled from mental health, there is a balance that must be kept, and it must be kept for the rest of your life. Talk to anybody who's had severe mental health issues. There is no ignoring it. There's no letting it up. It must be kept in check. It must be kept in balance for the rest of your life. You must be aware of when you are doing something that is going to potentially cause your mental health issue to flare up. You must be aware when you are doing something that's going to hurt you, that is then going to cause a chain of events that you don't want. And when you become aware of that, you can say, whoa, stop. This is as much as I can handle. I am doing no more. And that's okay. That is different than the person who is just simply lazy. They just don't want to do it. And that has nothing to do with mental health. They just don't want to work. That's totally different.
But you were just stuck working.
Yeah, I did. That's a better way of putting it. I felt really stuck. I felt like I was getting all this extra money, and then I was trying to allocate it
working all the time
and
really hard if you got great traction is not that harsh.
Again, if you have a mental health issue, traction at work don't mean crap. It doesn't. If you have a mental health issue, whether you have traction at work doesn't matter. Don't believe me? Look up famous people who have, unfortunately they're not with us anymore because they had such severe mental health issues, even though they had all the traction at work, they had all the money in the world.
Right.
It's not what you want to do the rest of your life, but I want you to be done in a year. In that case, $1,000 as an emergency fund is not as scary because you're going to be done in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute. You have almost $6,000 now, right?
Yeah, I've got about $6,600 in my savings account.
Oh, so we're going to put $6,000 on the 45. So now we've only got $39 to do in a year.
See, I agree with that. I would knock out most of that $6,000. Keep $1,000 if she needs to. Keep $1,000 an emergency card. Yeah, I know Dave wouldn't agree with that, but that's okay. I made my debt-free goal, so I feel somewhat qualified, even if I broke the rules. We have to remember something else too, folks. When you get financial advice, okay, either from whether you're learning through my experience or whether you're following someone like Dave or any other YouTuber, media personality, whatever, okay? You got to remember something. In the end, it's all about what do you want? What do you want to gain? What are you willing to give up to gain that? Okay? It's really about what you want. And I think what happens sometimes is we almost feel like we have to explain ourselves to somebody, especially when we're trying to follow a program and we think that program is the Bible. Okay? I really didn't, as much as I love the Ramsey show, I really didn't do anything. Dave would have just rolled over and died if he had heard about how I got out of debt. Okay? Had a $110,000 student loan, but I bought a condo anyways. Got rid of my $3,000 savings account, and I relied on a credit card. Did I ever have to use it for an emergency? Yes, I used it for one emergency. Little kitchen repair, I think was between $300 to $500. Nothing significant. Paid it off the next month. Paid 0 interest. Okay? Everything that Dave says not to do, I did. But in the final analysis, I became debt-free. Okay? Dave says don't lease a car. I think leasing a car is probably one of the best things I've ever done, and I like it so much. I'm going to do it third time, even though I could buy my car outright and be done with it in about 10 months. I could have my car paid off, leases up, I think, this fall. It would take me 10 more months to pay it off and I'd be done. I just really like leasing a car. I absolutely love it. In the end, do what you want to do. Do what suits you and your partner. Okay, if you're in a relationship with somebody. But in the end, you don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify it. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I guess to get further clarification, so the 1,000, like I said, does give me a little bit of anxiety because I just think,
I want you to have a little bit of anxiety.
What's giving you anxiety is $45,000 in debt hanging over your head.
Feeling stuck. When you
To give you an idea, okay, her $45,000 in debt combined with the student loan and the car, that was how much money my mortgage was. Exactly $45,000. I paid it off in 2.5 years on a teacher's income at the time. Okay, backing up 2.5 years ago, of teacher's income of about maybe 57,000. She makes 75,000, and she's got the exact same amount out of a mortgage. It took me 2.5 years. Okay, and that was me, doing the quick ride, but also having rewards. I like having the reward system. She could, if she wanted to do it comfortably, she could comfortably knock this out in 2 years. Okay, 2 years, maybe a year and a half. Because again, it took me 2.5 on a teacher's income I was in the high 50s at the time, and she makes 75,000. So yeah, she could knock this out in 2 years without thinking. And if she really, really wanted to buckle down, I would say realistically a year and a half. I think a year might be tight because again, we aren't on drastically different incomes. Because especially now, because I have a little part-time job, ups my income a bit more in towards the mid 60s. She could pay this off year and a half, I would think, with little problem. But the key is she can't get into any more debt. She can't do it.
You are knocking off $3,000 to $4,000. You're not going to have anxiety. You're going to be knocking it out. And then you're going to be done. You're going to be 28 years old and not have a payment in the world. Can you breathe that in?
I know. And
wow.
So what is your recommendation? Because I think
that is my recommendation, darling.
I had to replace 2 tires on my car. So I think if I'd have only had $1,000 in my
that's enough to replace 2 tires. And then you replenish it. So you'd pause the debt snowball. Let's say that you have another 2 tires go out. Pause the debt snowball. Your next paycheck's going to cover the tire. You already have $1,000 in the emergency fund. And then you move on. You just pick up where you left off.
If she really doesn't like it, she could always keep 2,000. She basically, when it comes right down to it, she can keep whatever amount keeps her from getting anxiety. Okay, so she's like, "Look, I'll give her 3,000 of it, but I want the other 3,000 to stay." That's cool too.
$1,000 back
instead of 3,000 or 4,000 going on your debt this month. Only 2,000 does because you're going to buy some tires.
Okay, that makes.
But I will tell you that as my mortgage started lowering, and it got lower and lower and lower, I'm telling you, it becomes an adrenaline rush. It really does. As you start clearing these bills and you can actually start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, it starts to become an adrenaline rush where really the only goal you have is, I want this debt cleared. I didn't see my parents for a couple of years so I could clear off the debt. They understood that.
Makes more sense. Okay.
You got 2 new tires now, so that problem's out of your way.
Yeah, there'll be something else though. There'll be something else break.
Right. Yeah.
And you're going to be working all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you won't have time to spend money.
Right.
And don't worry, just before you die, you'll pass out.
Yeah, but hey, I'll pass out and be debt free. So.
Exactly.
I'm kidding.
All right, you guys, we're going to go ahead and we are going to end it at this particular one. Let's check the time here. We're running about 8:40. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick pause. I'll go ahead and do a double feature. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the second one. Let's see what this second one is about. Hold on here. Okay, should I end my engagement because of this? Ooh, this is about 3 years ago. All right, so we're going to take a quick pause for those who'd like to stick around for should I end my engagement because of this. Happened 3 years ago, but of course we can learn from it. All right, I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit Chat. Quick pause. We'll be right back. I gotta be honest, folks, I think engagement stories are one of my most favorites. I don't know why. Maybe it's just all the potential red flags. So, welcome to part 2 of Bedtime Story Time. I hope you warmed up your tea. All right, let's go ahead, take us all the way down. This happened 3 years ago, but as we know, like I said earlier, we can learn from anything and everything. All right, so let me go ahead and squeeze myself in here just a little bit. All right, folks, we're going to go and hit it.
Casey is with us, and Casey's in
Hello,
Texas.
Casey.
Hi, Casey. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Dr. Deloney. Thanks so much for having me.
Sure. What's up?
So I recently got engaged, and my fiance and I are looking at buying or building a house in an up-and-coming area here in Austin. But throughout this process, there have been some red flags that have been raised, and now I'm just kind of trying to figure out what to do and what I should do from a relationship standpoint and a financial standpoint.
People, do we already know where this is going to go? Now, what should we do when we see a red flag? Should we ignore it? No, we should absolutely not ignore it. And when other people have red flags, we want to be nosy and see what it's all about.
Okay. What kind of red flags?
So we had some discussions while we were dating about finances, and it seems that they were sugar-coated a bit. And so basically, when we started having financial conversations, I had some concerns, and I talked to my parents. My parents are awesome, and for my birthday, got me Financial Peace University. So I got on the debt snowball bandwagon, and within the next 6 weeks, I'll have paid off all of my debt and be completely debt-free.
Was he on the debt snow bandwagon with her? Or was this a solo journey? Methinks this was a solo journey, which means he did not partake in that goal. So if he didn't partake in the Financial Peace FPU journey with her, then she was on the journey alone.
But he didn't really get on that bandwagon with me. And
there we go, people. There we go. We already have the answer. Ladies. Something I have learned in my 56 years. Look at what people do. Look at their actions. That will tell you what they think. Okay? Look at their actions.
It turns out after we got engaged that his
Wait a minute. So, let's stop here for a second. Okay? Because I've discussed this before at Bedtime Story Time. All right? We already have the answers to our questions. They're usually put out in front of us. It's just we do what? We choose to ignore them. We move forward anyways. We are the creators of most of our financial issues. You've heard me say that.
Debt is about double what I thought it was. So he has about $100,000 in debt.
Oh, double of what she thought it was. So does this mean he lied to her and told her it was $50,000 and it was actually $100,000? I had a gal pal, long moved, and I remember she was, we're talking wedding bells were going to be chiming. Get right up to, I think, dang near the week of the wedding. It was that close. And then he revealed to her that he had $100,000 in debt. She called that off and ran in the other direction. Horse hooves, Clydesdale horse hooves, could have kept up with her. Okay. She was galloping away at record speed. Okay. Now, I didn't know her at the time that she was engaged to this guy, but it just came at, as, girl chat, past conversation. She was like, yeah, we were supposed to get married, and she didn't know he had $100,000 in debt. This is one of those situations where you really don't want to ask for forgiveness. Let the person know up front so you don't waste each other's time. Let the person know up front, because then you can choose, hey, you know what? We're going to tackle it together if you so choose. But if he's hiding it, she finds out. But is she also partly responsible? She said she had hints and clues all along. She dismissed them. She even says, well, he really wasn't that interested. See, she's hoping that maybe he'll change. I'm willing to bet you that's what she's hoping.
And I think just our views of finances, our views of debt are very different. And so that's my primary red flag.
No, that's not a primary red flag. That, as statistics show, will be the number one reason of divorce. So no, 3 years ago, I hope you didn't marry this guy today. I hope she did not marry this guy. I mean, really, that's all there really is to it. If you can outwardly say in full and complete sentence, there's no hemming, no hawing, no hesitation. We don't see finances the same way. We are so different on how we view finances, but I'm going to marry him anyways.
Is it different because you thought it, or is it different because he lied to you?
I think a little bit of both. So I think, you know.
But she's not fully innocent here. Okay? Yeah, we can throw some hot water on him. Not literally, okay, figuratively. We can throw some hot water on him because he lied. But is she also responsible for ignoring the signs? In other words, even though this was 3 years ago, if she went ahead and she married this guy, she goes ahead and she marries him. Oh, I'm going to ignore the red flags, okay? I'm going to ignore everything I know. Then whose fault is it now? Whose fault is it now? Up to this time, she's been willing to ignore the flags. Whose fault is that? But now that, it's come to, hey, time to get married, we're looking at the house. Why would you wait to the point that you're looking at the house to decide whether or not you're going to be honest with yourself if this is really the relationship you want? This is where the so-called innocent party also has some responsibility. If her parents were so great, they should have addressed with her, look, you're going through FPU by yourself. He doesn't seem a whole world interested. I mean, it doesn't seem a lot like he's a whole lot interested in doing this with you. Honey, I don't think this is going to be the guy for you. Okay. If her parents didn't do that and she says she has this great, awesome, wonderful parents, they got her in FPU. Not criticizing her parents, they don't have anything directly to do with her and her boyfriend's relationship. But if she's saying that, they're basically financial lifesavers to her because they taught her all this, okay, then she should assume, in my opinion, okay, the FPU class should have taught her that she should know one of the big factors of divorce is, do you see money the same way? She should know this. So in that aspect, I hold her responsible if she still chose to marry him. I hold him responsible for not being as upfront. But sometimes, when the gal or the guy will say, the so-called innocent party will say, well, they had more debt than I thought. Part of me wonders, did the other person try to tell them? Okay. But the so-called innocent party really didn't want to hear it. It's kind of like that, well, honey, I do have debt. I have some serious. Oh, don't worry about it. Love will take care of it. Okay. Not that excuses someone from saying, hey, you know what? I have $100,000 in debt. But it's just a thought.
Getting out of debt is a huge deal for me. I'm so excited. I have a PhD. I had a lot of debt getting out of my doctoral program. And so now I'm finally there. I taste it. I taste the freedom. And if she marries this guy, if she chose to marry him, she's going to, I hate to say it, she's going to see herself as one up on him if he can't do the same thing. Okay, if he can't clean up his 100,000, she's going to see herself as, just like we've seen other videos, I don't want to be the sugar mama. I don't want to be the one carrying the bills for the family. Okay. If she has this much concern, man, I hope she didn't marry him. Seriously, I hope she did not marry him. If she married him anyways, that's her responsibility for doing so. And I think the way he accrued his debt was in his 20s. We're older now. We're both 36. And he accrued it through traveling and backpacking and playing. And so I think, he has about $44,000 in student loans as well. So it wasn't all fun and games. But, I think there's just a fundamental difference in the way we think about finances. And yes, just the fact that he wasn't transparent is an absolute issue as well.
Well, then it sounds like you shouldn't marry him. I don't even know what you need a phone call for. Sounds like you should marry him. As far as him accruing his debt through fun and backpacking, debt is debt. You know, I can't look at someone who, I don't know. I can't want to be with someone, look at their past and go, well, man, you accrued all your debt at the golf course. I accrued mine at the cooking store or whatever. Debt is debt is debt. How he accrued it is insignificant at this point. Unless, of course, it's like, you know, I accrued mine through illegal means. That might be a little different. But, you know, she really, in my eyes, she doesn't really have the right to judge him on how he accrued it. Okay? It's kind of like, judging past people you've dated before you met the significant that you're with. Well, and, you know, she dated a guy that played guitar at Starbucks for chump change. Shame, shame. It's like she's trying to shame him for how he accrued his debt versus her seeing herself as more responsible. I see a little ego play in there. Just a little kind of a, you know, well, my debt's better because I accrued it, you know, getting a PhD, yada, yada. His debt's not as good because he accrued it getting part education and part traveling the world. This could be a woman that, I gotta be real honest here, okay? If I were a guy and I had to give guys advice, be careful with women who kind of jump to, it's a little bit of their way or the highway. Their way is the right way of doing things. Okay, her way was the right way of accruing debt. His way was the wrong way of accruing debt. Just keep an eye on those women that give you the signs that what you've done is not as upstanding or outstanding or as credible as what they've done. Just a thought.
Okay, so it may be because he maybe I'll cut him a little slack. It's possible with a guy like this he wasn't transparent because it just doesn't matter to him.
I think that's a lot of the case. I don't think he overtly lied.
Yeah, I think
he did say he had
malice or something here. So have you?
There is still quite a bit of change though between, you know, if you're thinking it's 50 and it's 100, there's a bit of difference there. Okay, I'll let you know when I had $110,000 student loan, I didn't hide it. I didn't hide it.
You guys set a date for your marriage?
We had set a date for February, and now, you know, we've been going through picking out options for building the house and stuff, and it's been very obvious that he wants very high-end materials. I mean, there's an expectation that I'll put down 20% of the down payment out of my money. So for me, I put it.
Oh, we're back to being the sugar mama. Remember that video just the other day, this week? Back to the sugar mama. There is the expectation that I will use my debt-free lifestyle to put down yada yada. We've talked about this at the other bedtime stories, people. We have talked about this at other bedtime stories. Will she see him in the same holy light as she sees herself? Will she look at him as the man of the house?
On hold. So we're
put the house on hold and the marriage on hold?
We put the marriage on hold, and I'm not sure what I want to do about the house right now.
Well, if you're not going to get married, then I don't think you're going to need the house right now. I'm not, you know, if I had to look at blame, I would say he's probably 60% and she's 40% to blame for this situation. I don't hold him 100% responsible. I really don't. She knew that there was debt, and maybe she chose to partially ignore. Clearly, she chose to ignore her feelings and her warning signs. Maybe she was hoping that as, you know, she was going through FPU, Financial Peace University, that he would miraculously turn around and clear his debt as well. If they are that financially apart, and it appears from what she's saying they are, this is not the right man for her.
Okay. Well, I mean, the house would be easier and more important to put on hold. Not more important, but I mean, that should have been on hold before the marriage was put on hold. So, because it's revealing the other stuff, in my opinion. So, yeah, okay. So, John, jump in here.
Yeah, I want to start there with the house. Don't continue buying a house with somebody that now you're wondering if you're going to spend time with them for the rest of your life, because.
And this is why we don't buy property with somebody you're not married to.
Going into a joint home purchase is going to complicate that separation down the road significantly. The second thing is going back what Dave said, I think you need to sit down and be direct with him about what your values are and about your confusion or frustration with him having about twice the debt that he had, and your expectations moving forward as a couple.
Here's the thing. To me, there really isn't much to discuss anymore. The relationship's over. Here's why. They've clearly have known each other long enough to plan a wedding, to plan buying a house. They've known each other long enough. How much time do you really need to keep discussing? We just aren't on the same page financially. So at this point, to me, there's nothing else to discuss. If you get to the point where we've planned the wedding, we're getting a house, you already have you've laid all your cards out on the table. What more is there to discover?
Doesn't sound like y'all have dreamed about what something's going to look like, because you're building a house and you still aren't fully formed there. So you're kind of trying to play house a little bit, play dating a little bit, think about marriage a little bit, and you got to get these priorities in order.
Yeah. The thing is this: when I first started teaching this stuff, Casey, and you can share this with him as well, I thought I was just teaching people to get on a budget, and I was forcing couples that were married. From a practical standpoint, it's just much easier tactically to handle money when you have one account and you have one budget and you're both working together. It's just easier. And what I didn't realize was I was forcing them to dream together. I was forcing them to face their fears together. I was forcing them to do life together. And when you've got different views of handling money, it's not the money that matters. The money doesn't matter. But what it's exposing is that you value different things. You know, you have a different dream, a different way of looking at the future, or you look at the future, he doesn't, or vice versa. And so what's revealing here is that your values are substantially different, and that's reflected in the money.
I will tell you this, in a past relationship that will remain unnamed, we look at money very, very differently. Very differently. I want to plan very well for my retirement to the best of my ability. I want to live on as little as possible so I can be as debt free as possible. I don't need, with this computer deck aside, okay, I don't need to buy everything. Okay. Brand new YouTube home computer deck aside, all right? I don't need to buy everything. You know, I'm the type I can walk around a mall at Christmas and just, have a Starbucks and window shop, okay? There are some people who need to be doing something all the time. They need constant form of entertainment. They need to be doing something all the time. They need to be spending something. They need to be doing something showy, flashy, whatever. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. And when he talks about, it's not the money, it's the couple coming together and realizing, their differences, that's true. But if they're going to come together with the debt, okay, so, especially when she, and this is something I have to come to admit after doing enough of these reaction videos, when she makes more money than he does, it is imperative that she does not look down on him. It's imperative that she understands that her money is now just part of the joint pool. Socially, it's harder, I think, for women to make more money than the guy, especially if there's a big split. And I think having done enough of these reaction videos, I'd have to say, yeah. Now, whether I think there should be a problem, no, I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be a case of who makes more. To me, it just doesn't matter. But there are some women. There is a large pool of women out there, I would even say, that the person that makes more money, if it's her, this is just my observation, she has more issues with giving it up and just saying, okay, it's our money, go take what you need. So yeah, they can come together and all that through, marriage, and it's easier to manage the account. But if she's like, well, I'd marry you, but I really don't want my $100,000 to go towards your debt, even though it would clear it, but it would take, half of it to do it, or would take the whole thing. Okay. If she really has a problem with that, or he does. Okay. But looking at from the woman's point of view, since this is a woman calling in, if she really has a problem with that, then she needs to just call off the wedding. I hope, honestly, I hope she did not get married to him without some big come to Jesus meeting and all of that stuff. This is not the right husband for her. But I do know in a relationship that I had in the past, it was very, very different on how we viewed money.
And so you get comfort from, being out of debt and saving money. He doesn't even address the issue. He's the ultimate free spirit, backpacking through Europe and running up debt. And there's nothing evil about that. That's one story of people's journey, how they get there. But then the point is, if you're going to be married to someone, you got to be able to give and take between the two of you and say, okay, we as a couple are going to develop a money philosophy, and we're going to.
But this is the thing. I think that money philosophy has to be ingrained in both people already. I really, really think it does. You're not going to take me. I don't care, how much you love me or I love you. You are not going to be able to change my philosophy on money. You're never going to be able to change it. It is what it is. It's kind of like trying to convince someone that another religion is better than the one they've been born, baptized, and raised in and have come to love. Okay. I couldn't, if I think of my past relationships, could I change their philosophy on money? No, it's their personality. It's who they are. There are people who probably tell you I'm a tightwad. Okay. Except when it came to my computer debt, but I saved for that. Okay. But one's philosophy on money, to me, that's just, it's a part of who you are, and it's not going to change because someone sits you down and says, okay, I want you to change your philosophy on money. And basically what she's asking this guy to do is to change his philosophy. I'm not sure I'd want to spend time doing that with someone. I would feel much more comfortable with someone who simply had the same philosophy that I did. Because then we're not battling each other, and I'm not trying to change you, and I'm not going, oh my God, I thought you said you were going to save 15% of your paycheck, and you didn't, because he has a different philosophy.
Develop a philosophy on how we deal with parents, and we're going to develop a philosophy on how we deal with kids, and we're going to develop a philosophy.
See, and again, these philosophies to me need to be innate to the person. You are not going to change my mind on kids. Okay, there are some areas that are non-negotiables. Okay, there's just some areas to me that have very little negotiation room. I can try to change my philosophy on money for you to hopefully get you to marry me. I can try. But in the end, it's not who I actually am. The truth of who you are will always ultimately come out. And I would rather just see you for who you are before I marry you than try to have these philosophy meetings with you to try to get you to see it my way, and you acquiesce and go, okay, that's fine. And then, we get married, and 6 months, a year later, we see each other as we really, really are.
On how we deal with religion. And if you don't do that, you're not going to succeed in your marriage. All the data points in marriage statistics and divorce statistics tell us this. And so, and 30 years of sitting at this desk, I've observed it time and time again. So I think this is salvageable.
Absolutely, I do.
I don't think it is.
But I think it's going to require some strong-handed pre-marriage counseling that forces both of you, him to get a little bit more responsible and you to lighten up a little bit. And it forces both of you to the table and go, this is what I value, and if you are going to completely poop on it, we're not supposed to be together.
And whose value gets to override whose value? Whose value is more important? His value? Free caring, backpacking, exploring the world, or her value? Buckle down the hatches and stay home and do little. Whose value is more Whose value is going to win? This is why I would want someone with the same philosophy that I have, and not someone who I'm having to try to convince that, my way is the better way. Because if I really have to do all of that legwork to know that you're the right person, before I can be convinced that you're the right person for me, we're probably not right for each other. If we have to sit down and we have to deal with, I think you lied saying you had 50,000 in debt and you really had 100,000 in debt, and I'm the woman, I make, I've got a PhD and I see myself as responsible, and I don't see you quite as responsible because you went out backpacking amongst I don't know, what is the mountain hiking, backpacking trips that people go on overseas and stuff, okay? Whose philosophy wins? Who's better? And I can tell you from this call, she thinks she's better, and that's why I don't think they should get married. That tea was good. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I would like to thank you so much for joining me this Tuesday evening. I do hope you will consider subscribing. To those who will be listening to this at work, I hope you have yourself a terrific Thursday. To those who will be listening to this while you are exercising, don't forget to check that heart rate. And to those of you who have toast with your tea in the morning, don't forget, save me a slice. I'm Carrie, the Student Loan Chit Chat. Have a great night. Bye-bye.